Welcome to A1 Rubber's instructional video for installing Jazz flooring, produced specifically for installers. As the manufacturer of Jazz flooring, we feel that installers of Jazz are an extension of our company, and therefore we wish to provide this video demonstration to ensure all installations of Jazz are finished well and compliant with Australian standards. Please be aware that this video is to be used as a guide only, and the Australian Standard 1884 to 2012 should be reviewed in conjunction with this video for a complete understanding of installation procedures of resilient flooring and compliance requirements within Australia. We do not recommend this video as a complete guide for first-time installers, and we firmly believe that all installations should be completed with the assistance of an experienced commercial flooring installer. Jazz properties. Before beginning work with Jazz, it's important to understand its properties, as rubber flooring is unique compared to other types of resilient flooring. In particular, A1 Rubber's recycled rubber flooring range has been engineered to be particularly non-porous, unlike similar competitor products. The main difference of Jazz to common vinyl flooring is its elastic properties, being derived of rubber. It is both flexible and has the ability to stretch, making it susceptible to dimensional change in varying temperatures, and direct sunlight during installation. Never let and adhere in direct sunlight, and it is essential to allow Jazz to contract to the lowest expected annual temperature of the site environment prior to installing, to ensure gapping doesn't occur after installation. We do not recommend installing Jazz with a shock pad underlay in facilities that do not have air conditioning, as warm temperatures during installation will cause gapping in the rubber sheet after installation in the cooler months. Mobile air conditioning units should be used when there is no air conditioning on site. Due to its elastic nature, Jazz will easily telegraph any imperfections of the substrate through to the surface. This means thorough substrate preparation is crucial, and in applications where substrate movement is possible over time, such as timber substrates, it is imperative to use a minimum thickness of 8 mm Jazz to reduce the possibility of visual telegraphing. Storage of Jazz rolls prior to installation must be horizontal to prevent any damage to the edges of the rolls, and the rolls must retain the cardboard cores, and must not be stacked higher than 3 rolls high. Required tools. When installing Jazz flooring, it is important to be well equipped with the right tools and safety equipment to ensure the installation goes as smoothly as possible. The hand tools and equipment used for installing Jazz flooring include markers, string line, masking tape or blue painter's tape, measuring tape, utility knife, scissors or shears, scraping blades, carpenter's square, heavy commercial flooring roller, approx 50 kilograms, metal straight edge, handheld weighted rollers, air pocket spreader bar, paint rollers, portable lighting, broom, buckets, citrus cleaning wipes, colored gap fillers. The power tools and machines required are electric drill with an adhesive mixing attachment, drum sander, powerful vacuum, orbital sander. While installing Jazz, it is recommended to wear appropriate safety equipment, including safety goggles, gloves and knee pads. Site inspection and preparation. A very important step in installing flooring is the sub-base preparation. If there are any adhesion problems in a finished installation, it is usually a result of an improperly prepared surface. During sub-base preparation, it is important to be mindful of Jazz's properties, and that imperfections in the substrate surface will easily telegraph through to the finished surface. It is vital that the surface is properly prepared to ensure problems do not arise that could have otherwise been avoided. It is paramount that both timber and concrete substrates are in a state of cleanliness before Jazz flooring is installed. To achieve an optimum state of cleanliness, the substrate may require wet or dry vacuuming, grinding or sanding. The subfloor may require repairs before installation begins and should be thoroughly inspected by the flooring contractor for any imperfections that need to be filled or sanded. Any traces of grease, oil, paint, existing floor coverings or any other treatment which may adversely affect adhesion also need to be cleaned. Additionally, the subfloor should be inspected with a long straight edge for consistent planarity to avoid dips or uneven surfaces which could show through to the finished installation. Using low-level portable lighting to shine across the substrate is an effective way of highlighting such imperfections. Timber subfloors to be used as a substrate shall be prepared in the following way. Before beginning any sanding or filling, the subfloor must be inspected for dampness by a qualified individual using a moisture meter. If any moisture is detected in the substrate, it must be left to dry until a moisture content of less than 10% is obtained throughout. In platform constructions where exposure to weather has occurred, it is particularly important to be vigilant in moisture testing, and the underside of the subfloor should also be inspected. If any timber substrate has been exposed to the weather during construction, it is necessary to sand the entire substrate using a drum sander with 60 grit paper initially, followed by 100 grit paper for a finishing cut. An appropriate timber floor filler must be used to fill any panel joints, holes, splits, and gaps greater than 1 mm, nail holes and knot holes, followed by thoroughly sanding over all filled areas and joins to a smooth, even surface. In concrete substrates, before surface preparation is performed and jazz flooring is laid, the concrete must be tested for moisture, and shall be considered satisfactory when relative humidity does not exceed 75%. A concrete moisture test should be performed by a qualified individual using a relative humidity moisture meter. If the concrete is above 75% relative humidity, then a moisture barrier must be applied to eliminate the risks and problems that can occur with subfloor moisture. Follow the moisture barrier manufacturer's installation recommendations when applying the appropriate moisture sealer. As per timber substrate preparation, concrete substrates shall be similarly prepared, using an appropriate concrete floor filler to fill any holes, grooves and imperfections, followed by sanding all filled areas, and any ridges or protrusions to a smooth, level surface. Any filled areas must be allowed to completely cure before laying jazz. All substrates must be inspected for consistent planarity across the area of installation. Planarity may be determined by placing a 3 meter straight edge at any 2 points across the substrate, and be deemed satisfactory when no more than 3 mm of height variation is detected over the distance of the straight edge. On all concrete substrate it is essential to finish the surface to a smooth surface to ensure any imperfections do not telegraph to the surface of the jazz. If the concrete surface has been burnished or had additives such as waterproofing, curing compounds or other treatments, the surface must be sanded over, as these treatments will adversely affect the adhesion of jazz to the substrate. For increased adhesion, it is recommended to sand the entire concrete substrate by mechanical means to create an etched surface. It is advised to always use a sander with a vacuum attachment to reduce dust pollution in the substrate. In all substrates, all loose materials or dust present either as building debris or residue from mechanical preparation shall be removed by thorough vacuum cleaning. Set out. Once the substrate has been adequately prepared, it is vital to allow the jazz flooring to dimensionally contract via the lowest air condition temperature for at least 24 hours before adhering, allowing it to achieve an ambient room temperature of approximately 18 degrees Celsius. If the installation temperature will be below 18 degrees in winter, a longer period of relaxation and acclimatization time will be required, to ensure the sheet widths do not contract. This may take up to 4 days if the temperature is expected to be below 10 degrees Celsius. The planning of the set-out of jazz is important to minimize waste at the end of the installation. When setting out jazz, the most important factor is to install the rolls in the direction of the heaviest flowing traffic, while keeping all joins away from high-stress areas, such as the center of walkways and doorways. In the case that the installation's traffic is multi-directional, jazz may be installed in the direction that produces the least waste. To get started, unroll the jazz rubber out in the direction of the installation, taking care not to permanently damage or mark the surface with dirty boots. The rolls should remain facing upwards after being unrolled and can then be cut approximately to size. An allowance of at least 1% of the roll length should be allowed for at each end of the roll for relaxation and trimming in, and an overlap of 1 mm down the long lengths to allow for compression fitting. Once the rolls of jazz have been laid out, we do not recommend flipping them unless it is absolutely necessary. If rolls must be flipped, it is imperative to check the new top surface for shade, pattern and color consistency against the other rolls. Where cross joins are necessary, ensure no two cross joins are adjacent. Continue laying out all jazz until the whole installation is laid out and cut in as per the final installation layout. The rolls must then be left to relax and contract to the air-conditioned environment. While the jazz is laid out for this period of relaxation and acclimatization, it is an ideal time to check over the surface of the jazz for any defects, gouges, slice lines, color, pattern, shade, and thickness inconsistencies or other issues that could be detected in good light. It is highly recommended to use a handheld portable light to shine across the surface for a thorough inspection. Address any issues before adhesion. Installation. After jazz has relaxed and contracted to the coldest installation conditions, the rolls may be prepared for adhesion to the substrate. At this point, the ends of the rolls may be cut to length, and detailed cut work can be executed. In most cases, sheets should be rolled up from the ends to the center of the installation, but in the case of particularly long installations, the lengths of rubber may be folded to either side for a butterfly-style installation. Butterfly-style installations are recommended for installations with long continuous lengths of rubber, as the rubber can stretch when rolled back up in a long roll. When the jazz has been rolled or folded out of the way, adhesives may be troweled into the substrate, and the jazz laid into the adhesive. Using the right kind of adhesive for the application is critical to the success of the installation. The One Rubber offers 3 types of adhesives to address varying conditions. The first kind of adhesive is a One Rubber's specified single-component water-based adhesive, which should be used for all indoor applications where the installation temperature is between 10 and 25 degrees Celsius. This adhesive has a 15 to 20-minute working time, and has been specially formulated to provide maximum grab to the jazz rubber during installation, and should be troweled using a V2 notch trowel. This adhesive is not suitable for use on timber substrates or applications where the jazz rubber is exposed to direct or indirect sunlight, heat or moisture. The second kind of adhesive is a 2-part polyurethane adhesive, which should be used for any indoor or outdoor installation where the jazz rubber is exposed to any sunlight, heat or moisture, or any timber substrate. Ideal working temperatures for this adhesive are no less than 10 degrees, and no more than 30 degrees Celsius. As this adhesive is a 2-part adhesive, the adhesion is caused by a chemical reaction of the 2 parts. When left in the pot, the confinement will speed up the chemical reaction, and set the adhesive off within 10 minutes. However, when troweled into the substrate, this adhesive has a working time of 1 to 2 hours. It is critical to determine a strategy for troweling this adhesive to get as much on the substrate before it cures in the pot. We recommend troweling this adhesive using a V1.6 notch trowel. With this adhesive, it is critical to monitor the cure rate after jazz is laid, and roll over the surface continuously with a weighted roller once the adhesive has reached its cure phase, otherwise the jazz may fail to adhere to the substrate in places. In some cases, the seams may need to be weighted down whilst waiting for the adhesive to start its curing phase. The third adhesive is a single-part polyurethane, which should be used for outdoor installations where the temperature is no less than 10 degrees, and no more than 35 degrees Celsius. The characteristics of this adhesive are its highly mastic properties, which allow for a high adhesive build for rough textured substrates. This adhesive should not be installed in cold, low humidity climates, or areas where the surface is regularly inundated by chemicals or submerged. We recommend troweling this adhesive using a V2 or a V3 notch trowel, subject to the roughness of the substrate. Adhesives should be troweled into the substrate using the specified notch trowel, while maintaining a consistent notch trowel size and even application rate across the entire installation. Once the adhesive has been troweled in the area of application, the rolls of rubber may be rolled or flipped into the adhesive, keeping a 1 mm overlap down the lengths of the rolls for compression fitting. Once the rolls have been laid into the adhesive, the jazz may be rubbed over with a leveling bar to remove any possible air pockets, and to help guide the rubber into the right position. As jazz is a flexible product, it can be pushed into place if it has not lain out exactly where intended. The 1 mm overlaps between rolls can now be hand pushed in level with the adjacent sheet for a compression fit finish, using painter's tape to hold seams together if necessary. At this point, once the jazz is laid into the adhesive, more precise cutting in around awkward objects can be done to fit the jazz neatly, and any extra trimming at the ends to fit flush to the border. When the jazz has been laid into the adhesive, and all overlapping joins may be pushed in for a compressed, neat finish, they should be checked for any oozing adhesive. If any adhesive is showing at the joints, it is important to remove it immediately using citrus cleaning wipes. During commercial flooring installations, it is common for the installation to require many joins at cutting in, which can unfortunately result in occasional gaps appearing. In the case that gaps occur and cannot be rectified before the adhesive cures, flexible gap filler matching the color of the floor may be used to fill small gaps to aid in a neat finish. After the working area of jazz flooring has been laid, and the joints have been neatly finished, the surface should be thoroughly rolled over with a heavy commercial flooring roller to ensure proper adhesive transfer to the underside of jazz. The 2-part polyurethane adhesive requires extensive monitoring, as this adhesive has a delayed cure rate, due to curing as a result of a chemical reaction. This means the adhesive will not hold down the jazz until the cure accelerates. The most common fault here is bubbles in the surface, so ensure the surface is rolled again when the curing accelerates. When using this adhesive, joints or certain areas of the jazz may need to be weighted down until the adhesive begins to cure. The adhesive can be checked regularly at the edges for when it begins to tack. When the adhesive begins to cure, the jazz should be thoroughly and continually rolled over to ensure complete adhesion of the jazz to the entire substrate. Any tape used must be removed as quickly as possible to avoid tape adhesive transfer. Diminishing strips or other suitable moldings shall be used to protect any exposed edges of jazz, and foot traffic is to be kept off the surface for 12 to 14 hours. No heavy equipment or vehicular traffic is to be permitted on the surface for a minimum of 72 hours. At the completion of the entire installation, all scrap and debris shall be removed from the surface, and thoroughly cleaned by means of sweeping, wet or dry vacuuming before continuing with protective coatings. All traces of wet adhesives must be removed by use of citrus cleaning wipes. Any dried adhesive must be cut off the surface, and lightly sanded if necessary. Protective coating. Jazz rubber flooring can be specified as sealed. However, in some uses, maximum slip resistance is required as per our sealed or unsealed test results. If a sealer is to be applied, then after the installed jazz has been allowed to cure for a minimum of 12 hours, the surface can be coated with A1 rubber's specified clear polyurethane floor finish. This finish will prolong the life of the jazz floor and aid in cleaning processes. Epoxy is a 1-part aqueous floor finish, which is available in low luster or semi-gloss. We do not recommend semi-gloss on jazz flooring with any recycled rubber content. Low luster is recommended for these floors. Prior to coating the jazz surface, the floor must be inspected for any lipping along the joins of the sheets, or any other height imperfections. It is important that if any height variations are detected, to sand them to a smooth, level finish, before applying any coatings. We recommend using a handheld orbital sander with 80 or 100 grit paper for any sanding jobs. If any sanding has had to be done to the finished jazz surface, it must again be thoroughly cleaned by means of mopping with a pH-neutral cleaner, and vacuuming before proceeding with any finishing coatings. Using epoxy, apply evenly to a 15 mm nap roller, making sure to roll out any saturated areas on the roller using a paint tray. Apply the finish evenly to the flooring with measuring usage and square meter yields. The One Rubber recommends that a minimum of 2 coats of epoxy be applied, and up to an additional 2 coats be applied in expected high wear areas. Allow each coat to dry completely before applying further coats. The first coat will look milky if it is not allowed to cure fully before the second coat. The surface can tolerate light foot traffic 16 hours after final coat has been applied. Wait 24 hours before regular traffic is allowed to be applied to the surface. Underlayment. Jazz rubber flooring can be specified with a rubber underlay for either extra cushion or for impact noise absorption. 2 types of underlay are most commonly used. All-impact shock pad tiles in 20 mm, 25 mm and 30 mm thicknesses or 10 mm air roll sports underlays in rolls. Please ensure you follow the installation guide for each specific underlay. All aeroroll underlays must be fully adhered to the stud base using a One Rubber specified 2-part polyurethane adhesive, and for best results with All-impact they should also be fully adhered. However, All-impact underlays can be compression fitted without adhesives. See All-impact installation guide. Minimum top surface jazz thicknesses of 5 mm for aeroroll and 8 mm for All-impact are specified for these installations. Thank you for watching our instructional video, and for choosing to install jazz flooring. We would again like to highlight that this video is for guidance purposes only, and it is advisable to review the Australian standard for a complete guide to installation procedures and compliance requirements within Australia for resilient floor coverings. If you have any queries relating to the content in this video, please do not hesitate to contact us and we will be happy to assist where possible. As Australia's largest rubber upcycler, One Rubber manufacture a comprehensive range of products for a multitude of applications. Visit our website at www.aonerubber.com for more information relating to jazz flooring, or to view the other products we have to offer.